Jai Shri Krishna and welcome. Tulsidas says, जाऊं कहाँ तजी चरण तिहारे, काको नाम पतित पावन जग के ही अति दीन प्यारे. So we can say here whose charan we are pursuing, Bhagavan Krishna. काको नाम पतित पावन जग. परमात्मा कैसा है? How is Paramatma? Patit Pavan. It uplifts those who fall down on the way. Kehi ati deen pyare. There is who else is there who really loves those who are downtrodden and deen? Only Paramatma loves them. Nobody else. Sansar definitely doesn't love him. So he says, Jaun kaha taji charan tihare. Where can I go leaving you? Where can I go in this world? There is no other place. So today I'd like to go over some material which is important as background and will be helpful to those who may be beginners in this area. It did help me when I was studying Gita. Last time we saw that in order to convince Arjun to pick up Gandiv and start to fight, Bhagavan said, there are two kinds of people and entities. These are Gatasu and Agatasu. The one whose pran have left the body and the other whose pran are functioning in the body. The literal meaning of these words is dead ones, Gatasu, and living ones, Agatasu. These meanings do not apply in Sankhya. The wise person, who is called Pandit, the knower of Sankhya, neither mourns over dead nor the ones who are still alive. Thus, the wise person does not dwell on the death or the problems of the living. Why so? Because he knows that pran stays in the body for a certain duration and then they leave. The body depends on pran to function, but Atma does not get affected by the coming and going of pran. The body which is subject to death is Gatasu therefore, and Atma being eternal is Agatasu. The body is Gatasu since it is made of Prapanch, and Prapanch is the expansion of 5 Mahabhut: earth, wind, water, fire and ether. And it goes through 6 stages, starting from birth and ending in destruction. The Atma, on the other hand, does not die. It is Agatasu. So when we say that he or she is dead, it is the body that has died. But due to not knowing that the body and the Atma are different, people mourn over the dead. Actually, they all mourn due to their own selfish reasons. This is what Arjun did in the battlefield here. The sansar is also made from prapanch and thus is constantly going through changes. Now, the next point is we take up Atma. Atma is an eternal entity and it does not change. There are 4 forces which always remain with Atma. These are Man, mind, intellect, buddhi, Chit, conscious, and ego, ahankar. Together they are like 4 petals of a single flower, and they are called Antahkarana. The word Antahkarana has 2 parts, Anta and Karan. The first, Anta, means inside or within, and Karan means performing. So these four constantly perform within all living beings where there is Atma. In the human body, all four are fully developed. Therefore, humans in human form is the only form where it is possible to do karma, perform karma. So who is performing the karma? The Chatushta is performing the karma from within. The Atma in other life forms can only experience the fruit of past karma. So when Atma leaves body for the new body, the Antakaran and the senses, Indriyas, they go with the Atma. These do not get replaced in the new body. They stay with Atma until the Atma is released of all bondages and attains moksha. Now the next point is, we come to karma. Karma is performed using the human body. It originates in our mind. While awake, the senses feed the man all the information about their experiences with their objects. Now the man has been receiving such information since the very first body that we had received. This information has conditioned our mind, so that we like some things which we sense and dislike the others. We then try to get what we like and play down the ones which we do not like. Simply put, this liking some and disliking the others is what causes the bondage for the Atma. Each and every karma is registered on the Jeev Sarup. Now this is an important thing to understand. Jeev Sarup in form of, how it is registered on Jeev Sarup? In form of sign called Chin, which has all the information pertaining to that action in it. It is called Karma Lep. Like in modern times, we can incorporate all the information about a product in a barcode, which can be printed on the product. We see it every day. Similarly, the Karma Lep contains information as to what is the fruit of the action, when and in what body it is to be given, what is the level of pleasure or pain which is associated with it, with this phal, with this fruit, etc., etc. All the information is right there. So we carry our Karma Lep with us at all times. So there is no bookkeeper like Chitragupt there. We are our own carrier of the Karma Lep. All these karma belong to the prayas, since they are initiated by looking, feeling and knowing the outside world. The important thing to know about these karma is that as one enjoys or experiences the fruit of these actions, a new action gets created, and thus one can never get out of this perpetual cycle of karma and karma phal. So that's what Tulsidas says, Jaun kahan taji charan tihare. Where can I go, leaving you, where I can get away from all this cycle of karma or karma phal? Now the basis for karma, for uplifting the Atma, comes under Shreyas. The basis for these is Gyan. For Shreyas, to perform the karma, is Gyan. These karma do not result in Karma Lep. Instead, they add to the worthiness of the Jivatma towards moksha. Now, next point is, that is what is Arjun asked Bhagwan. He asked Bhagwan Sri Krishna for Shreyas. So Shreyas come from on the basis of Gyan. Therefore, Bhagwan started telling Arjun Gyan. So now we start at Shlok 20th. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूय अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. In the 19th Shlok, Bhagavan said to Arjun that Atma neither slays nor is slain. Birth and death do not apply to Atma. Now Bhagavan says about Atma, he's telling him what it is. These are the qualities of Atma, adjectives. He says, na jayate. Atma is not born. We saw that body goes through 6 stages. The first stage called jayate, and the last stage which we saw was vinashyati, or death. However, Atma has only one stage, and that stage is it is. It always is. It never was or will be. It always is. Atma is never subject to any change. Change occurs in body alone. Therefore, Bhagavan says, it is not that not having been, about Atma, it is not that not having been, it again comes into being. Or according to another view, it is not that having been, it again ceases to be. So what is Atma then? He says, Atma has no stage of existence. It always is. Therefore, Arjun, what is Atma? It is Aj, unborn. Nitya, eternal. Shashwata, changeless. Ayam Purano, being old by the virtue of being there forever, but is never old. Atma is always remains new. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Even when body is destroyed, the Atma is not. The Atma is never old or weak. Now here, I like to explain something. The Atma is never old. However, the Man does get old. Why so? Because the Man generates thoughts based on experiences from the senses. And the thought has already happened. When Man senses some thought, creates a thought, it already happened. It is the future which is new. Since it has not happened yet, and the Man does not know. Man doesn't know the future, only knows the past. So the Man remains old unless we make an effort to totally forget the past experiences and learn to look anew at each moment. Such a Man remains young, fresh and flexible, not rigid and stiff. This can be achieved only with Gyan, because Gyan is never old. It always is. In the first chapter, Arjun said to Bhagavan about the disappearance of the family traditions in Shlok 39 through 44. But in Gita, Bhagavan has not backed these thoughts, because traditions take you back all the time. There are old traditions. And that is where a lot of problems happen. People get so rigid in traditions that in modern times they cannot stay in step with the times, and they keep going back and back and back. And that's what causes problem. So Bhagavan continues to talk about the Atma. He says, Veda vinashinam nityam ya enam ajavyayam katham sa purushah partha kam ghayati hantikam. O Parth, son of Pratha, the person who knows person who knows the Atma to be avinashi, indestructible. And what else he knows about Atma? Nitya, eternal, or changeless, ajam, unborn, abhayam, immutable, always remaining the same. How such a person, hanti, can slay anyone, or ghatayati, cause another one to slay? Both these do not apply to the Atma. Here Bhagavan said, how such a person can slay anyone? He is referring to Arjun. And when he says, causes another one to slay, Bhagavan is referring to his own part, because he was telling Arjun to go and fight. He says, neither you can slay anybody or I can cause you to slay anyone. First in Slok 19, Bhagavan said, Nayam hanti na hanyate. Atma does not slay nor is slain. Here Bhagavan is saying that if you know the reality of the Atma, if you have the Gyan of the Atma, then you can neither be a slayer nor cause another one to slay. Even I cannot tell you to slay. Bhagavan says, I cannot even tell you to slay. Both of these thoughts are incorrect. Therefore, in this, you are not in picture. You are not in the picture. These people who you think you are killing them, you are not the one who is killing them. Like it is not in your hand to create the cycle of sansar. This is a cycle of sansar. People come and go. It's not in your hand. You cannot change it, he says. You cannot stop the cycle. Its creation and running is automatic according to the karma. Having said this about Atma, Bhagavan comes back to the body, telling the body is not such, like the Atma he just told. It is opposite to the Atma. Vansansi jirnani yatha vihaya navane granyani niroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani sanyati navani dehi. Here Bhagavan gives an example of clothes we wear. He is comparing the clothes with the body. Bhagavan says, Yatha nar jirnani vansani vihaya. Like a person leaves their old worn out clothes. And aparani navani grahyati. Takes on the other new clothes. People's clothes get older, they just have to change. You got a hole in it, it's not acceptable. Although there are some inconveniences in doing this, because some people do get attached to their old clothes. They don't want to get rid of them. They like it so much. So that causes a little inconvenience when you change the old clothes and get a new one. Tatha, likewise, Dehi, the embodied Atma, Jirnani Sharirani Vihaya, casting away the worn out bodies, Anyani Navani Sanyati, enters into new bodies. So Atma is getting new body, casting away the old one, and goes on and on and on. Atma never goes back, it keeps going forward. Remember, one disposes the old when one already possesses the new garment. You cannot dispose of it unless you have a new one. Therefore, the embodied Atma is entering the new body during the act of leaving the old one. This body is made up of sthul prapanch, which is anitya, transient, is called the Annamaya Kosh. It lives and thrives on Anna, chemical energy. It runs on chemical energy. It has no power of its own. Bhagavan takes up the same next. He says that like during winter, a man wears several layers of clothes. The Atma also has several layers of clothing. Atma has a subtle body, Sukshma Sharir, a Pran body, Pranamaya Kosh, Manomaya Kosh, etc., etc. All these bodies are stitched on the Atma. They are just put on the Atma. They stay with the Atma. That is why following death, the process of leaving the body, Atma enters the Pret Deh. Therefore, Following destruction of the body of the Atma remains Nitya. So now Bhagavan is telling Arjun about this Atma as to how it is like. What it is like. Nainam chindanti shastranim, nainam dahati pavaka, na chainam kledayantapo, na shoshayati maruta, na enam chindanti shastrani. This Shariri is for Atma. The Shariri is the one which is stays in the Sharir. The Atma cannot be cut with any arms, any Shastra. Enam pavaka nadahati. And the fire cannot burn it. Since Arjun has left his armaments and has refused to fight, Bhagavan tells him that your arrows cannot pierce through the Atma. And your fiery arrows cannot burn it. They will only kill the body, which will die anyway. Na chayne aap kledyanti. He says the water cannot wet it. And na marutah shoshayati. Air cannot dry it, dehydrate it. So the Atma is such that it cannot be cut, because the death penalty was administered with the sword or like means in those days. The dead body of the born again, Dvij. In Hindu religion, after the Yajñopavit, the stage of the person is called Dvij, reborn, born again, was burned. That is the process of disposing of the body of the Dvij, householder. Then there was disposing of the body in water, in the rivers, and also let it dry in the air. So if these means do not affect Atma, then what Atma is like? Achedyoyam abhedyoham akledyo shoshya evacha nityah sarvagata sthvanu achalayam sanatana. Arjun, Atma cannot be cut, cannot be burnt, cannot be wetted, and cannot be dried, because it is changeless, Nitya. Because if you do any other process, it becomes not Nitya, it changes. But Atma never changes. All pervading, Sarvagat, meaning that Atma can leave the body and go anywhere its karma takes it. It is unmoving, sthanu, like a pillar stays in one place. It is immovable, achal, nishchal. That it cannot move without the power given to it by Parmeshwar or Devata. It cannot move by itself. It doesn't have the power to move. And it is eternal. It has no beginning and has always been the same. Bhagavan describes the trait of Atma. Other traits are Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanushochutum arhasi. Avyakt. I am Avyakt. Atma, the Dehi, is unmanifested. Avyakt means unmanifested. Achintya. What it is like cannot be thought. We cannot think what it is. That is, Atma is beyond thought. And avikaryoyam uchyate. It is said to have no vikar. Vikar comes in man, not in Atma. Atma always remains pure. Such a vastu is Atma. Thus, to be such, you should not mourn. Because it is such, it never changes, it always remains pure, cannot be killed, cannot be cut, cannot be burned. So you should not mourn. Following is the list of adjectives which used by Bhagavan for Atma and the qualities and dharma of the body. We are comparing the two. What are these? For Atma, he said, Avinashi, indestructible. For body, he said vinashi, destructible. Dehi. For Atma, it is Dehi. One occupies the Deh. And for body, it is Deh, which is occupied by Dehi. Shariri, one living in the body, and Sharir, the body itself. Sat, having essence. Asat, without essence. Sharir has no essence. Atma has essence. Amrit, immortal. Prakritisth, the body is situated in the Prakriti, is part of the Prakriti. Aprameya, incomparable. You cannot compare Atma with anything else. Prameya, it can be measured. Body is 3.5 hands of person's hand. That's the size of the body. It has measurement. Abhyaya, Atma is immutable. Abhyaya. Sharir, Vyaya. It is mutable. Atma is namrate, does not die. Body, mrayate, it does die. Is subject to death. Na jayate, Atma is not born. Jayate, Sharir is, the body is subject to birth. Adahya, Atma cannot be burned. Dahya, Sharir is burned, can be burned. Sarvagat, can go anywhere wherever the karma takes it, all pervading. That's what Atma is. Sharir ekdeshiye, stays at one place, thinks of all, staying at one place, it thinks of all other places. Aklesht, cannot be wetted, that is Atma, and Sharir can be wetted, Kledya. Sanatan, Atma is eternal. Sharir, Nashwar, it can be destroyed. Unmanifested, Atma is Avyakt, unmanifested. Sharir is Vyakt, means it's manifested. Atma is unthinkable, Achintya. Sharir is thinkable, you can think about it. It's subject to thought. Avikarya, Atma is unchangeable. No vikar comes in Atma. Vikarya, Sharir has vikar in it. Achal, Atma is immovable. Sharir is chal, it moves. Anadi is for Atma, that means without beginning. Sadi is for Sharir, that has a beginning. And in the end, Ashoch, not to be mourned for, that is Atma. Shoch, mourn for body is, people mourn for the body, not the Atma. So they are two totally different entities. These are the adjectives of Atma and the body. Bhagavan said that Atma is Sarvagat, or all pervading. Now, in what state the Atma becomes all pervading? There are 4 stages of human experience. These are Jagrati, Swapna, Sushupti, and Turyavastha. According to Upanishads, when Atma goes into Samadhi, then it goes into a state of Sushupti or Turyavastha and becomes Brahma. That's what Upanishads say. When in Samadhi, there is Brahma Rupata. In the state of Sushupti or Turyavastha, becomes like Brahma, Brahma Rupa. The Turyavastha is also called Mukti. In Turyavastha, or the state called Mukti, Atma rises from the state of being, Alp. It's not Alp, because we have seen Alp before. What is Alp? And experiences the state of Amrit. We have seen this in Shlok 15. So Amritavaya Kalpate. Now here we will look at the differences between the Alp and the Bhuma state. Alp is the lower state of Atma, Bhuma is the higher state of Atma. In Alp, the experience is of the awakened state. In Bhuma, the state of unconsciousness or meditation. That's what experience is in those states. In Alp, there is pain. In Bhuma, there is no pain, it's sukh, pleasure. In Alp, there is bhed, sees itself separate. And in Bhuma state, it sees there is abhed, sees no difference, becomes one with Brahma. In Alp state, avyapak, non-pervading. In Bhuma state, it's all pervading. In Alp state, it moves, chal. In Bhuma state, is immovable, achal. In lower state of mind, the Alp state is bhinnatma, looks at others as separate. And in Bhuma state, it is abhinnatma. In Alp state is situated in the body, and in Bhuma state situated among all beings. In Alp state, looks at the body as his own. In Bhuma state, it feels a part of Atma. And in the end, Alp state is ekdeshi. It is at one place at any given time. Whereas Bhuma, it is sarvagat, becomes all pervading. So the Atma at Bhuma state becomes all pervading. And it's the joy there. Thus, in Bhuma state, the Atma becomes Advait and rises above and becomes all pervading, because Brahma is all pervading. When in Susupti state, one stops the fickleness, chanchalata of the mind, through two ways. One is Hatha Yoga and the other is Raj Yoga. He stops thinking in dualistic way, with doubt, duvidha, whether I should do this or should do that, whether this is right or that is right. He knows exactly what is the right thing, and becomes nirvat. Nirvat is this is the state of Brahm. Now he goes into akarm. Whatever happens at that, from there on in that state, Atma goes into akarm. The karm is not there, it becomes akarm. The pleasure of this state is the pleasure of Bhuma. This is the word in Upanishads. In the Alp state, there is duality of pleasure and pain, but in Bhuma, it's only pleasure, no pain. How did he get there? Atma gets there. Atma gets there with Raj Yoga or Hatha Yoga. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Yajnavalkya precepts, Upadesha, he tells Maitreyi that certainly in the state in which Atma is like others, there Atma is bound in the Prakriti. When Atma is like others, it's bound in the Prakriti. With his desires. How it's bound? Through his desires. There are desires in that Atma. Vrittivash. There is a smell. What it does there, it smells others, looks at others, listens to others, talks to others, thinks about others, and there he knows others. But in the state where its entire Swarup becomes the pure Atma, in Bhuma state, there who smells whom? There are no two, there is only one. So who can smell whom? Who sees whom? Who listens to whom? Who tells whom? Who thinks of whom? And who knows whom? Because there is no two, it's all one. The Atma becomes Brahma, Sarvagat. Atma knows itself. There the Atma is like the unwavering flame of a lamp. Nirvat Deep Shekhavat. When the lamp is there and there's no air flowing, the flame it doesn't flicker, it stays straight. Same way the Atma is in Nirvat state. Bhagavan now addresses other questions. There are people who believe that Atma and body are not separate because they see Atma comes with the body and leaves. To that view of materialistic supposition, Bhagavan says, if that is true, then Atma will be back again with the new body. Therefore, you should not feel sorrow. At chaine nitya jatam nityam va manyate mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho naivam shochutam arhasi. If you believe that this Atma is nitya jatam, always born, and nitya va mritam, and always dies, even then, Mahabaho Arjun, you ought not to mourn. Why? Because jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad pariharyarthe natvam shochutam arhasi. According to this view, jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu. Of that which is born, death is certain, and dhruvam janma mritasya cha, and birth is certain of that which is dead. Tasmad, therefore, apariharya, this cycle of birth and death is unavoidable. So therefore, arthe, in this subject, natum shochutum arhasi, you should not grieve. Even if you believe that, there is no reason to grieve. This shlok is concerning only those who are not yet free from the bondage. They are bound by their desire, and with desire, birth and death are inevitable. As long as we have desires, we're going to keep coming back. When the desire is fulfilled, we leave, come back again, leave and come back again. Therefore, Bhagavan is telling Arjun not to grieve. Since you cannot control the inevitable, it is inevitable. As long as we have desire, this will keep going on and on. You work out your own karma and thus leave this cycle of birth and death behind. Bhagavan explains further, says, Avyaktadina bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta nidhanam neva tatra ka paridevana. Bhagavan says, Bharat, hey Arjun, avyakta deen bhutani, all beings, bhut, all beings are in unmanifested state in their beginning, before birth. And at the time they are situated in my Prakriti. At that time when they are unmanifested, they are situated in my Prakriti. Vyakta madhyani, they manifest only in the middle. And avyakta nidhanam neva, following the death, they become unmanifested again. Whatever is born or comes to be is called bhut. The five mahabhut, humans, animals, birds, etc., are all bhut. Since they all appear for a time being in sansar. This is the law of Prakriti, that all these appear from the unmanifested state and go back to it after certain time. This is not in your hands to keep them in the unmanifested state or manifested state. You cannot just keep them because he didn't want them to die, and so that means he wants them to live, which is manifested state. You are grieving for those. Don't you think that you will meet the same fate someday? You will be same way. You will become Avyakt. In the relationships as father and son, friends and everyone, etc., everyone is merely a combination of material elements correlated with as a cause and effect. What is the cause? Cause is our desire. Effect is the fruit of the desire, karma. So, how did it administer to the Atma? Through materials, prapanch. So it's said that what is to be gained from grieving on this? It goes on and on all the time. It's nothing new. It's the law of nature. So we now know the Atma is eternal, unborn, indestructible, but actually what is it? These are all the qualities, but what is it? It says it is a splendor. It's Ascharya. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschit denama Ascharyavat vidati tathaiva nachanyam Ascharya vachena manya shrunoti Shutta prenya veda nachaiva kaschit. Some people look at Atma with astonishment and wonder. Some other people describe Atma as wonder only. One who tries to describe Atma is a rare one who has Ishwar Gyan. Everyone cannot even think to describe Atma. And is struck, that person is struck with the awe and pauses in the middle of describing the Atma. Some want to say, but are unable to say what Atma is. Those listen to the description of Atma wonder, how can Atma be such? How can something be like this? Then there are many who are unable to know Atma. Even after listening to the description, they listen to all the description, they listen to all the explanation from different people, but still they don't know what it is. In Kenopanishad, it is said, Yasya matam tasya matam. The one who says he does not know, knows something. And matam yasya navedasa. The one who says he knows not. Why it is so? Because there is wonder and splendor in Atma. Atma is such a wonderful thing. What is the wonder in Atma? It is that to lift a dead body, it takes 4 people. At least 4 people to lift the body. And the same body with Atma in it, it gets up by itself and moves around. Similarly, while all things flow downwards, the blood in our body flows up. At birth, a child starts to drink mother's milk automatically. That is a wonder. With Atma, body speaks, and without the body, it stops talking. Without Atma, body stops talking. When Atma comes into the body will speak. Body has all the organs, but they start to operate only as Atma enters it. In the body, all happens with prana, and all these happen when Atma enters the body. Bhagavan again says to Arjun, Dehi nityam avadyoham Dehe sarvasya bharata Tasmat sarvani bhutani Natam shochutam arhasi. Arjun, in everyone's body there is Atma, Dehi. The Atma, Dehi, is eternal. It cannot be killed. It is present in some form or the other. You cannot destroy it. As soon as you will destroy the body, Atma, the Dehi, will appear in another body, another place. Therefore, you should not grieve for the prani, any prani. Having explained to Arjun about the body and Atma, Bhagavan convinces Arjun to fight based on the viewpoint of the sansar, vyavharik drishti. Next time we will take up the other 8 shloks in which Bhagavan puts forth this view. Namaskar.